Hello, my name is Melinda, and this video is going to be everything that I knit in 2024. Caveat that it's not actually everything, it's just going to be the garments that I knit for myself. I think I'm not the best note taker, so hopefully I captured everything or close to everything. But anyway, this was the first garment that I finished, and it is a self-drafted pattern. So you'll see a handful of these. It's kind of a bigger project that I've been working on, and it's essentially just a drop shoulder design and at many different gauges in order to basically create whatever basic drop shoulder garment you want, but with whatever gauge. So this goodness, we'll figure it out. So this is a fingering weight version. I knit this in Knit Picks palette, and it's just standard drop shoulder. It has sleeve decreases. There are the 1x1 ribbing details. This one is just a mock neck, and it is definitely cropped. So this was a garment that I wore all the time the first, well, like winter, January through the end of winter 2024. And then for those of you who didn't watch my last video, I just had a little baby a few weeks ago, and so this is definitely too cropped to be able to wear with that, so I didn't get much wear out of it. But now I should be able to put it back in the rotation. Trying to think, I think that's about it, but I'll show you all the iterations that I have produced for this garment. Series, pattern, whatever. Did I say I'm calling it the PAX, P-A-X? I'm not sure, but that's what the name will be for, like PAX fingering, PAX DK, worsted, fluff, and there's a sport weight version. Anyway, so this is like a mock neck 1x1 rib, cropped version. This one is another fingering weight knit in Knit Picks palette, a little bit crumpled, but this one is a V-neck, so it's got a double knit collar on this one. Again, same 1x1 finishes on the cuffs, and the hem also cropped, knit in the same yarn but with a different neckline. So the idea is basically that you'll be able to plug and play with whatever finishes you want and have this standard drop shoulder template to work with. So fingering weight 1x1, mock neck, fingering weight also 1x1, but a double knit V-neck for the shaping there. And then here is the sport weight version. This is Autumn and Indigo lamb's wool. So technically it is a fingering weight, but I knit it at more of a sport weight gauge. Unfortunately, Autumn and Indigo does not produce yarn anymore, which I am sad about because it was one of my favorites. And this yarn is really lovely. And so yes, again, just basic drop shoulder. However, for this one, I did 2x2 ribbing. This one is also more of a mock neck, similar to how this one lays. And then this past year I did, maybe it was 2 years ago, but basically I did discover a 2x2 sewn bind off that kind of imitates the tubular, but you don't rearrange your stitches, so it allows you to have that like rolled edge, but doesn't have that like curve if you do the 2x2 tubular sewn bind off, where you rearrange your stitches and then do 1x1 basically. So I am a big fan of this sewn bind off because I think it gives that super clean look for the 2x2 tubular bind off, but doesn't have the little like straight one stitch and then lean on the other stitch from rearranging. So yes, this one, like I said, 2x2 17,000 times. And then I did do a longer body and a split hem. And I did not trim this end. This one was nice because it was definitely long enough for me to wear further into pregnancy. So bonus, something to consider for your wardrobe is garment length, or when you're considering garment length for your wardrobe. Okay, then the DK weight version that I knit, my husband's out there with the children. DK weight version that I knit is, this was the Rowan Norwegian wool. Okay, this one is DK weight version, and also did 1x1. This is more of just a crew neck rather than the mock neck, and just a regular hem. This one's got somewhat cropped, not as cropped as this, not as long as the last one I showed. Did I say it was Rowan Norwegian wool that I knit this one in? So just a classic basic garment here. Okay, then the last one that I've knit for this series so far is what I'm calling the fluff version. So this one is a fingering held with a Surrey, sorry, started getting a phone call. So many distractions. Okay, this is a fingering weight held with a Surrey. Same idea here. However, I did do a folded neckline on this version. 1x1 finishes everywhere else. And the cool thing about this is that I dyed this yarn myself. I was playing around a little bit at the beginning of this year with dyeing yarn, having a lot of fun, but have not kept that up at this point in time. So I guess one thing I didn't note, it is basic drop shoulder, but there is some shaping on the sleeves, so you still do the short rows, which gives you the nicer fit on the sleeves. Yes. So this version is super cozy, and that's really all I got. Nothing too wild, but classic wardrobe staples, which I am a fan of and definitely reach for quite a bit. Okay, more exciting things. So this is a test knit that I did for Rebecca Clow of the Crayabea, and it is the Lauder sweater cardigan vest, but I did the V-neck cardigan. So this one is an all over cabled sweater. It has two different kinds of cables, the like braid and then just the twists. And this was a lot of cabling, but it was still pretty fun to knit. It's got the classic Rebecca detail on the back shoulder where it does like the increases have this cable along the side, and then you pick up for the front of the garment on the other side of that, and that goes all the way down the body under the arm. Yes, I guess one modification that I made is that I did do a double knit button band instead of the called for ribbed button band, and I didn't actually do buttonholes, mostly because I couldn't remember how when I was knitting it, and then so I said, oh well, we'll just roll with it as an open cardigan. This yarn is more yarn that I dyed myself. It is a 100% non-superwash merino. It is a DK weight, and you can see that I am no expert, and there is some like pooling and different stuff going on, but honestly, for just trying it out, not too shabby. Man, we are just rolling right through. Okay, now gets into some things that actually did show up in my last podcast that I was able to film. So this one is a pattern that I am working on. I have two versions. This was my sad failed version in Knit Picks palette, where I slightly felted it so it's too small and too short and just all the things, but the same idea has been transferred to the next garment that I will show. I'm not doing a very good job of showing these. But yes, this one makes me sad because I can't wear it. Okay, here's the actual version. This one is the one that I was wearing in my last episode. So the same ordeal where it is the main color and the contrast on the body is flipped for the sleeves. So just kind of a fun situation. It's got some oversized cuffs on this version. Very cozy. Just 1x1 ribbing all around. Oh, this one I knit in Juniper Moon Farms Patagonia Organic Merino, and it's in like a charcoal and a black colorway. So another classic. Okay, we are just powering right through, but that's okay. Then into my chevron extravaganza. So this was iteration 1 of this garment, which will be named the Carol pullover, K-A-R-O-L. And this was my first version where I actually knit it bottom up. I used woolstock worsted for this garment. And I realized that as I was working through this, I am working on a pattern for this, but this will be a little bit longer of a process. There's quite a bit that goes into it. But yes, as I was working through it, bottom up, I realized that there's some people who just, it's a no-go, and my personal preference is top down as well. So it's a no-go to knit bottom up garments. So I wanted to kind of rework it as a top down sweater. And so that's what I did. And I finished this version, which does look very similar. That one's more like a true gray, and this one is more of a grayish. This one is Knit Picks wool. It's not Eco Wool, that's Cascade. But it's like the natural one where it's not dyed, they're just the sheep colors. And they all have names that start with W. So yes, this one is top down, the standard where you start with the back panel, knit down, pick up, work the shoulders, join it in the round, etc., etc. And yes, another cozy sweater. Drop shoulder, obviously my favorite construction. Something similar but just a little bit more exciting is the Carol cardigan. So this one, super fun bright red. This one is knit in Cascade 220, which is one of my personal favorite yarns. Also finished this since my last podcast. This one I did a little bit different detail, or added a little detail for the back panel, goodness, where the increases come off of this stitch. This one is a V-neck, and I did do the double knit button band and finished off the sleeves and everything. It's hard to show a cardigan that's not buttoned up. I need to find buttons for it, so I guess it's not finished, but everything minus sewing on the buttons, well, purchasing the buttons and sewing them on is complete. So there's that. Very fun. A little bright pop in my mostly neutral knit wardrobe. Okay, then my final cast off for 2024 was a test knit for another test knit for Rebecca from the Crayobeia. And this is the Kintra So this one is 1x1 color work in the yoke. So for that I used the Woolly Mammoth Fiber Co. Advent that I got, I think it's from 2022, and I used half the colors from that for mine. So there are 6 colors, but then I ended up actually running out. So I did pull some Holst Super Soft from a cone that I had. I knit the DK weight version, so this is that fingering weight held double for all the color work. The main yarn that I used for this one was Cascade BFL, which is the first time I used that yarn. And modifications, so I think it's recommended to fold the neckband down, but I am a fan of the mock neck. So we'll see if I actually do that. I might, because I somehow messed up. Let's see if you'll be able to tell. My sewn bind off right here, which is right in the front. So I either need to go back and fix it or just do the folded neckband like I believe is called for in the pattern. But we'll see once I kind of try it on and wear it a little bit. Yes, so wow, I really powered through all of that. But those are, as far as I can remember, all of the garments that I knit in 2024 for myself. Obviously knit on a lot of other things and had different iterations. I still brought over some whips into 2025, but the goal is to be here on YouTube more regularly. So hopefully I'll have a podcast coming up soon. I do have the pattern for, did I say it was called? It's going to be the Dominic sweater, which is this one. I have that pattern just about complete. And so by the time that my next podcast goes live, there will be a tester call for that. So yes, those are my garments, which I think is pretty solid considering that this year was a big year for our family. We welcomed our 4th child, we moved states, got a new house, husband got a new job, so lots of big changes and life events that happened. It was very exciting for us. Let's see, I guess since this went pretty quickly, I might actually jump in and talk about my goals for 2025. So pause for a second while I get my notes for that. Okay, gonna knit while we chat about this a little bit. So I have not really set knitting goals for myself. However, I think with a couple things. So one, I am now a mother of 4, and so there's a lot of chaos that comes with that, and focus on things for my family rather than like things that fill up my cup. And knitting is definitely something that I turn to for joy, pleasure, for stimulation. I do stay at home with the children, and so before I had children, I was an engineer by training and worked in healthcare as an engineer. And so moving to the stay-at-home life, I do definitely like having an outlet that I can focus on, something that's more like for myself to fill up my own cup. And I find that it is like stimulating for me in a different way than being a wife, mother, homemaker is. And so I definitely want to make sure that I'm establishing things that can help me to make it a regular part of my life, which any of my real life family and friends who are watching that are like, Melinda, you knit all the time. And I'm like, yes, but it is helpful to kind of have goals and just like keep an eye on what I am working on and doing here. So I guess with that in mind, I definitely want to push myself with designing, not just like to make it happen or whatever, but because it's something that I've been really enjoying doing, and I want it to be like, if I write stuff down, then I'm more accountable to it rather than just something like, oh, I'm kind of working on this, maybe someday. For instance, my Mola sweater that I had written, tested, everything is basically ready to go. I just need to hit the publish button essentially. And so that's something that I want to avoid doing because the test for that garment ended like a year ago, and I just kind of never did anything with it. And so obviously I've still been knitting this whole time, just not really posting and things, and it makes sense for the season of life we were in, but I want it to be more of a regular thing. Okay, enough of my rambling. So the goals to go along with that are to, first of all, everyone's been putting up their make 9s, and I would like to design 9 this year. So it is a bit of a lofty goal considering I just formally published my 3rd ever pattern a few weeks back, but I think it's definitely possible, and I honestly have 9 different designs that are in some part of the process already. So it is basically just getting everything to the finish line, which is not always my strong suit. So that's why we write down our goals, and then we will be able to accomplish them and make these things happen. So yes, design 9. We'll see where we go with that. And if I did more, that would be really, really cool. But I think 9 is like pretty ambitious, but also reasonable and achievable. So looking forward to that. The other thing is just regularly posting to YouTube. So at a bare minimum, I would like to post 1 video a month throughout the year. So when this goes live, it will check off that box for January. Ideally, it would be more regular than that. However, I want to make sure that I am being reasonable and not too, I don't know, I'm not stretching myself. And like, recording is a little bit hard because there's always a lot of noise and things going on. Like, I'm able to be with my children and take care of them and knit a few stitches here or there throughout the day, but in order to sit down and record an hour-long podcast episode is a little bit more challenging. So I think setting it to like greater than or equal to 1 video posted a month is definitely realistic for me. Okay, and then this kind of transitions just personal knitting and also what I want to make for designs and such. And that is just making sure that everything I'm making is like wearable and practical. So I am home most of the time, and so being able to throw on a garment like I'm wearing right now makes a lot of sense. Super easy, thin, comfortable, soft. It is a material that I can have a child laying on me and everything. Like, basically not knitting mohair garments, not knitting things with a ton of lace where everything could get snagged on the stitches. And so like wearable sweatshirts, but making it so that it's not all just plain stockinette things, which I think is super fun and practical, or super practical and wearable, but not always like the most fun or exciting. And so having a balance between beautiful knits, interesting knits, but still wearable garments that I'm comfortable putting on and cooking, cleaning, hanging out with babies all the time. Then better tracking of everything. So it was pretty challenging to gather all the garments that I knit. I don't think I actually got all of everything that I worked on this year. And honestly, I didn't even know. I would have told you that the Lauder test that I did was from previous years if I had not watched other people's what I made in 2024 who also test knit this design. And I was like, oh, that was this year. And so I truly would have no idea if I hadn't have watched that. It would not have been included because I don't write anything down. And so I think just better tracking, which will be easier to do with YouTube and designing, because obviously I'll have a little more like built-in timestamps for everything. But I do also think that like the stash numbers and all of that is fun to look at. So I don't know if I'll exactly like track all my yarn in, yarn out and other things like some people do, but I am intrigued by the idea. But at least I would like to have an idea of what I actually knit this year and kind of how long things take me as well. I have really no concept. I could come up with an estimate, but no exact time frame for anything that I make, generally just because I don't write dates down or anything like that. So yes, better tracking. And then the fifth goal that I have is an overarching category of gift knits. I am a notoriously terrible gift knitter, as in I have some requests from like years ago that I still have yet to make. I have some stuff that is like almost done, but I just haven't really finished it. And my husband has been asking for a sweater like since we started dating, and he learned that I knit since that point in time, and I actually have the yarn and I had cast it on at one point, but I just have never made it. And so yes, I think you don't have to gift knit, but I think it is something that is exciting, and I do find a lot of joy in seeing people wear garments, hats, whatever it is that I made, and them being excited about it. So I would like to focus on that a bit more this year. I'm keeping it vague because I don't know exactly what is realistic at this point in time, but I will say I would at least like to knit my husband his sweater if that's the only thing that I accomplish. So yes, overall gift knitting, and I think like knitting for my children as well. The chevron sweater that I made here, I knit one for my daughter. Well, it's almost done. I still haven't done the neckband, but it would be so easy to finish, and she is so excited when I have tried it on her, like while I was working through the garment in the first place. So being able to knit for my babies and focus on that more. I have done some like sweaters and different things, and they all have hats and things like that, but I would like to knit more for them. So I think that falls under the gift knitting category as well. Yes, so those are my 5 goals that I've written down for this year, and I think I am pretty excited about all of them, and being able to kind of focus more on, I don't want to say the businessy part, but the designing and the YouTube part, where I would like to do more there. And so being able to do that, and also just knitting for the people in my life. So yes, let me know what you have going on for 2025. Yes, I think that about covers it. So we will wrap it up here. Thank you all for watching if you made it this far, and I hope to be back very, very soon with a regular podcast episode. Bye.